the problems we've always had in the data space of a central source of truth, governed data, people following business processes, all of these things that have like been around pre-AI and we've been trying to solve for years and continues to be a problem is really fundamentally the reason why I don't think a lot of companies will see the full value of AI in their organization. It has nothing to do with like AI's inability to do it. And it's more about like our human inability to get out of our own way so that AI can do what it does best.
Your data has secrets. Secrets that could change everything if you only knew where to look. Welcome to the Data Secrets Podcast. Welcome to the Data Secrets Podcast, where we uncover how business leaders crack the code, find truth in their data, and turn insight into action. I'm Nathan Sedembrini, and today I'm with my good friend Luke Komiskey, the founder of DataDrive, a crew of data detectives and analytics operatives helping businesses solve the messiest data mysteries through managed analytics. That is a mouthful. Luke, welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a long time in the making.
Yes, we've been jamming out on this idea for a minute. But dude, I'm so glad that you're here. For the audience, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and, what's your business look like today?
For sure. So, again, my name is Luke Komiskey. I'm based out of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, Minnesota. As far as a background, before I get into like what DataDrive does today, I have a computer science background. I've always been really interested in like programming and technology, but I knew that I didn't want to be sitting in a cubicle all day just making the next Angry Birds mobile app. So when I graduated from college, it was either you go mobile app development route or you start going into this relatively like hot up and coming data analytics. And that's where I got my first job as a data engineer doing SAP BW development. It was fun. I learned a lot, but I would personally not recommend it as a career path. It was just not terribly fun. Got introduced through that work to the wonderful world of consulting and data consulting. So joined a larger national, international consulting firm. Got a ton of great learnings there of what basically I'm doing today. And then ultimately, fast forward to what I'm doing today is I founded DataDrive about 8.5 years ago, right at the beginning of 2017. DataDrive really began as simply just as an experiment of like, can I keep Luke busy as a freelancer, and has since grown into offering analytics consulting services, data strategy services for all segments of the market. But really what we've really found a sweet spot in is this concept of managed analytics services, where we help organizations that don't otherwise have a dedicated data team, help them build out everything that they need to have a successful reporting strategy, data platform, without necessarily having to go out to market to hire the data engineers, the report developers, the data scientists. We are their fractional data team that helps them grow.
Nice. And that's been a bit of an evolution, right, in the model?
It has been, yeah. Really, like when I got started 8.5 years ago, only world I knew was analytics consulting, where you sell a project, you sell a certain amount of time to go after, trying to achieve some kind of outcome that has been predefined up front. As we kind of like morphed and figured out kind of new service offerings in the industry, we started working a lot more with like small, mid-sized companies. And then we kind of ran into the unique challenge that I think a lot of those organizations have, is that analytics has never been more approachable than it is today in terms of technology that's available to people. Like anyone can go spin up a cloud computing network anywhere. But the challenges are now for the small, mid-sized companies not having access or even knowledge of where can I get experienced data professionals to come in and like make those outcomes for me.
Yeah.
And so what we found is like a very eager audience who wants to do data-driven outcomes, but not somebody that necessarily wants to sign up to go hire somebody full time. And that's really where we found our niche within managed analytics and really trying to spearhead a lot of that space as we move into markets that, didn't even know that was an option for them.
That's awesome. So were there any, like, I guess kind of take us back to, I mean, you got into this because you wanted to travel the world, right? You're big into world travel, digital nomad, and then And then you were like, what? I need to hire a team because that's what everyone else says I need to do.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like my between when I was in kind of full-time corporate America and working as a consultant, my wife and I have actually quit our jobs, sold everything, and traveled the world for a year in 2016. So we called it our quarter life retirement. Really left with the plans to like go see and experience the world before having kids, and that equation looks quite different. But then during that time is when I started picking up random freelance contracts because when you're traveling 24/7, it sounds like a first world problem, but when you're traveling 24/7, you get kind of bored and miss actually working on stuff. And so, I started on freelancing, picked that up. I didn't really know what Data Drive would turn into, but after a year of freelancing and finding more than enough work to keep me busy, really kind of hit this point of like I could either continue down the freelance path or try my hand at trying to build out a bigger organization or something bigger than myself.
Hmm.
And I've always been one to want to get the most out of life. So I wanted to get that experience of like what does it take to actually grow and build a company. And I've been very thankful for the challenges that have been thrown away. I've grown so much as an individual. I'll have a really good story at the end of this all. But yeah, it hasn't been without challenges and struggles of somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing trying to figure this out in the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so you've pivoted and kind of landed on this managed analytics services, which like I see a lot of value in that. A lot of times with our clients, the progression, the life cycle is because it takes a lot of relational capital to be able to trust somebody to be your fractional data team, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of times we'll start with discovery or like a little project, little POC, and the transaction is more of like a time and materials, or a project based fee kind of thing. And then eventually it turns into oh well, could you like keep helping me, and could you like keep doing that? But I think that one of the biggest things, kind of differentiation that you're doing, at least the way I understand it, is that um, you're not just bringing the team, you're also bringing the tech as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. We're really trying to make it dangerously easy for companies to move into a data-driven strategy, because I think part of the challenges, and this is like the whole reason why we've moved towards this concept, is as you mentioned, we would go into these companies and deliver them a solution, right? They would be asking for a dashboard, asking for a report, and we like hand this off to a team that like frankly just doesn't have the time or the ability to be able to maintain that going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it really felt like we were leaving them with an incomplete product because we weren't there to continue maintaining that, and we keep getting these questions of, oh, like what if we need updates and all this other stuff. And so really what we did is went back to the drawing board and said, what if we like took what the data and analytics industry is trying to do with a vendor for your warehousing and a vendor for your ETL and a vendor for your reporting, and really just group that together as a concept of what organizations want is data driven insights. We can provide that whole platform without all the rigmarole of talking to 10 or 15 other vendors, because I think that's what frankly keeps so many of these small mid-sized companies like out of the game, is because it's so frustrating. Like I can't buy one thing to get me the outcome, and now they can with managed analytics.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think the way that I've thought about managed analytics, because we do a little bit of that in a very, very small niche, is if you know the people, like the business leaders, the problems that they have, the questions that they have, and you know the data, the different data sources, um, you can basically build a box in the middle where it's like, hey, we'll hook into your data sources and we'll give you the insight that you need on the outside. But inside this box, you don't have to worry about anything. We've got it, right? Is that one way of explaining it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I love one of the things about it is that you get as a like consulting operator, you get the economies of scale of you've got the same process technology. Like it's really easy to build process and repeatable things around that. But then also for your customers is like they get all the benefits of the shared learnings of everyone else in the space, right? One industry that I think is like
Yeah, that's awesome.
one industry that's like uniquely, I was like an unexpected great for us was being able to operate within K-12 school districts.
Mm.
because they're kind of unique in that they all want the same answers, but they're really not competing against each other. Like, if nothing else, we all want every school district to be insanely successful. So to be able to share the insights of how somebody approaches a certain chronic absenteeism problem with all of our school district customers is actually a really cool space to be in and be able to share those learnings across all of them.
That's awesome. All right, Luke. So this is the Data Secrets podcast. We're a bit of a true crime vibe, right? So we're trying to lean into, what sort of secrets have we uncovered? And you're in a unique position as a founder or business owner. You both have your own data secrets that you've had to uncover in your business as you think about the different data sources and the insights that you need to be able to make the right decisions. And then also for your clients, and probably more importantly for your clients, right? Because their data is much bigger, much more, probably much more interesting than, ours as consulting firm owners. But
Yes.
which, by the way, do you consider yourself an agency owner or a consulting firm owner? And also, what's the difference?
Yeah, good call. I think they're fairly interchangeable. I think agency tends to lean a little bit more towards marketing services specifically. I could be very wrong with that. So,
Hmm.
if anything, I would call myself either managed service provider, an MSP,
Hmm.
or an analytics consultancy, just because it sounds fancier to me.
Nice. Fancy. All right. So every business has secrets hiding in the numbers. Let's talk about your data secrets. Yeah. So what are, I guess, as you've been moving forward in your business, like what's something that surprised you in your data, or something that was kind of unexpected, that once you actually dug into it, that it was like, wow, this changes everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been funny about how like so much of what I preach with customers is around being data driven, like taking advantage of all the data you're creating, but it kind of goes back to like even as you're growing your company, you're focused on so many things. And even me as a data professional, it's like laughable how really poor my data hygiene and just like my reporting insights for my own company was for my first few years. So like even I was during first 2, 3 years of operation, like living off of spreadsheets that I was manually
Mm-hmm.
maintaining just because like I could get better control of the numbers. Uh, I think my secret in all of this is like I wish I would have like taken more time up front to like be more rigorous around like my financial reporting processes and actually looking at my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I think so much of what I was focused on is like if I just get more revenue, like everything else is going to solve itself. And I even found that even as like we built out our operations, like you hire a consultant to do billable work, but we weren't like I wasn't that rigorous in actually looking at things like billable hours and like utilization and like what niches or what marketing channels were actually the most effective use of our dollars. And that really all came down to like me not putting in the time around financial reporting and really digging in all of those metrics. It's amazing when I look back about how blind I was during that first bit.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and
How
it
long
definitely
was
kind
that?
of that's a good question. Probably about like 2, 3 years is like first year is like freelancing. So it's like whatever
Mm-hmm.
it hits a bank account. It's just you to be accountable for. But yeah, I think the trigger for me is in our journey, year 2, year 3, I was mostly hiring billable consulting people. So it was like you kind of pay for them, they do billable hours, but eventually you kind of get to this point where you start hiring people that aren't expected to be fully billable. And this is just kind of like a very consulting specific advice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like you really want to get better on your measurement of when I bring somebody in, you want them to bring, more revenue in some way than it costs to bring them in. But it gets trickier to do that math if you don't actually have a firm understanding of like what are the individual KPIs or outcomes they need to achieve and that you can like measure against to actually make sure that you're actually getting good ROI from that hire. I think like the common trap that I hear from other consulting owners early on is they want to hire somebody to do sales because like sales is tough, sales is hard. And that can be a really tough investment if you don't have a way to measure like are they actually bringing in sales that are profitable or sales at all. You have to be able to measure that.
Yeah. How, well, okay, so just to make you not feel so bad. So I've been in business so Allegro has been in business since the beginning of last year, and literally yesterday, I built the first Tableau dashboard on my own data, because now I have enough like trailing stuff, and it's literally
Yeah.
just an export of all the invoices from Harvest, and just some kind of simple charts, but it was really cool to see all that. But anyways, it won't be the last, that's for sure. But yeah,
I-
we're gonna start building our own little data warehouse and
yeah.
series of reports and that sort of thing. So that way, like when we have our leadership meeting, it doesn't take an hour to pull all the numbers together and be able to make some sense of it. But
Yeah.
I think when you're small and you're early, you have your arms around, like it's pretty easy to get your arms around what's happening because you're
Mhm.
in everything. But then when you kind of flip that switch and become more of like a business owner mindset, it's like, okay, if I wasn't involved in everything and now I'm not involved in everything, what are the things that I need to know to be able to make the right decisions?
Yeah. And that's the big thing is like it's activity based metrics for people, right? Like you have to know. For me, when I post any kind of job posting today, like
Hmm.
I have to have a good idea of two or three KPIs that I can like measure this role against, right? Activity based metrics that I know that if they do that, in my experience, they would be successful at the thing that they're expected to do. uh like that to me like took me way too long for me to admit, to like figure out how to measure that correctly, because you just kind of hope you hire people and they like figure that out. But there's beauty and clarity of defining what responsibilities they're expected to do, because as you know, like you as a fellow founder, you're the one that's going to care the most about the outcomes. People don't think about Allegro nearly as much as you do, as much as you may think.
Right. Yeah. What about, are there any examples of stories or times when you got into the data and it shaped the way that you operate or that you price your deals, or that I see you as kind of a marketing hero in the consulting world. And so, you know, any marketing, like the way your growth tactics or marketing tactics, anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. No, a lot of different ways, and thank you for like the kind words around marketing. Like marketing has been an area that like I'm not actually formally trained on. It's just one that I've been, I don't know, uniquely interested in, and just trying to figure out new paths.
You're a
So
natural.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I love exploring new marketing tactics, and sometimes I get in my own way. Like if I could give one piece of advice to any other like fellow agency or consulting owner out there, is I think honestly, for the first few years, if you've got one or two marketing channels that are working and you can measure that they're ROI positive, I would just be pouring gasoline on that marketing tactic. Because so much of what I always try to do is I get trapped in a little bit of like shiny object of like trying to find the next marketing channel that is just going
Hmm.
to blow the other marketing channels out of the water. Uh, so yeah, I think what I do is I do a lot of like calculated small bets on things that I think could be good marketing channels for us. And it's like paid listing sites, it's paid search, it's organic reach, it is automation jobs, it is like fractional marketing teams. uh, I play around with a lot of them, but I've gotten really smart about how I invest either my time or invest money to make sure that if I give it a solid 3 to 6 month run, I have to know if I've got some kind of measurable increase in pipeline to like make it worthwhile. Like it might be fun to work on this type of stuff, and I like personally get fascinated by it. But like, in the case of like Facebook ads, I was just like lighting my money on fire for no reason other than it's just like personally interesting for me. And then now
Yeah.
I know like Facebook's not a place I need to be advertising on.
Yeah, I totally see the trap of wanting to, you got this thing that's working and it's like, oh, but I listened to this podcast and they said I should be doing Facebook ads, and you know, I can put $1 in and get $2 out. Like it's gonna be amazing. And yeah, and so the data showed you not to do that, or
Yeah, yeah. The data show that a lot of what I was doing was a waste of time, a waste of money. I think people often, especially early on, you get trapped with like looking at much bigger operations and being like, oh, they're doing everything. But you
hmm.
don't know the story of what internally is going on. And I think the benefit and beauty of a smaller consulting operation is you can get hyper focused on a channel and just absolutely take that over.
Hmm.
And with limited, like I can speak for myself, limited time of a founder, like you just don't have the luxury of time. You need to focus on one or two channels and get after it.
Yeah. Yeah. The analogy that I've heard or metaphor is, if you got a bow and arrow and there's one target and you're aiming at that one target, you have a much higher chance of hitting that target than if you have two targets and you're trying to hit both of them. Like
Yeah,
you end up
100%.
probably not hitting, or you have to shoot twice as many arrows, and we just limited resources. You don't have that. So
Yep.
uh, let's go to the dark side, the data horror story segment. And so I'd love to hear about maybe like the scariest data moment you've had, or everything failed, everything fell apart, or like what's your data horror story, and what'd you walk away with as a result?
Yeah, I have to like I feel like everyone has like these early career moments, particularly in the data space they can look back on. I mean, my
Hmm.
first job I mentioned was a SAP BW developer, and the type of work we were in had pretty much like every quarter or every 6 months, like really big cutovers of like big code bases, big brand new production environments, basically going up and running. And it just happened like the timing of like this big cutover was within that time frame where like I as a relatively new employee had to be like put on call for just like monitoring data pipelines to make sure these things go through. These things like rarely fail, so like it's a pretty trivial thing, but you get a little like a cell phone at that time that you get to carry around, and you're like get to monitor data loads. And man, I remember my first night of doing these like data updates. I saw one thing that I thought was like sort of failing, so I made the like mistake of trying to go in there and tweak some code just to like get a quick fix, because I knew I didn't want to stay up all night. But like that small code based change of me trying to do it ended up like basically tying up all of these other queued up jobs from being able to run. And now like one small thing turned into, I don't know, probably like 200 plus other jobs that were like queued
Oh,
up and
geez.
eventually timed out and failed. And I just remember that night because I was like super stressed, but also like incredibly tired. And it was like the only night that I can ever remember that I fell asleep at my laptop, like trying to fix these things. So I would, I woke up in the morning to like my phone,
It's
like
like a
tons
big
of missed
space
calls.
bar on your forehead.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. And like, and I'm thankful that for the most part, BI and analytics, like unless you're like trying to, cure cancer or like run the financial markets, like people in our space, it's not like mission critical. I'll put air quotes for people.
Yeah, like airplanes don't fall out of the sky if
You're
your
right.
Delta dashboard breaks. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like thankful of that. But so I at least got like a few hours to like try to recover from that. But man, I just remember like early career, your heart just kind of stops. You're like, man, I killed production. It was bad. I've learned to be a lot more careful and cautious about just general production cutovers, the timing of which, yeah, and I I both love and hate that experience in my early career.
Mm. Yeah. One of my data engineer colleagues always says you always take down, or every data engineer is going to take down prod once, and that's about the only time, and then they learn. Uh, yeah, that's funny. All right, let's pivot to uh, some of the client work that you've done, clients you've supported. Maybe share a story where you help them identify some data that helped them course correct in a big way, or
Yeah,
make a better decision, something like that.
yeah. I think like this is like the thing I love most about being in the consulting space, and I think why I would ever be challenged to like go back into like work in a specific industry is because doing it as long as I have and you have is like you get an opportunity to meet hundreds of different organizations, and it never fails to amaze me how people are able to like make money doing the most random things. The things that I have like a special my heart for, like while I love financials and I love like healthcare, like I love working with widgets that I can like look, feel, touch, like see the process. So like we've done
Hmm.
quite a bit of work with like CBG, retail, manufacturing, like that type of widget making process is just super interesting to me. Um, but yeah, I mean, the one that I always like think about that I feel like is just so relatable and why I think I've gotten a passion for like working with small, mid-sized companies So I have a unique opportunity to work with directly with the president of a pizza chain that's up in the upper Midwest region. Uh, and so like we're working with kind of like fast casual pizza chains. It's really easy to like dig in and understand data, right? Like you get a bunch of point of sale data about people buying breadsticks and like toppings on their pizza. And so
Yeah.
like it's just something I can totally relate to, right?
Yeah,
It's awesome.
totally.
And I think it was really fun about like the type of partnership we get with these organizations because he was a very early managed service customer. Is you get the opportunity to work with these people that are like masters of their craft with like fast casual pizza. They understand like a lot of the marketing tactics, but for him and I to basically like sit in a room and jam out on like some of the point of sale data. So we were like working on marketing campaigns of like if we sold breadstick or if we gave like free garlic bread, like does that actually move the needle on average order value for the company? uh, if if we like schedule our delivery drivers based off like upcoming weather patterns, particularly in the upper Midwest with snow days, like are there ways
Yeah.
that we can actually take advantage of like labor efficiency? Um, and so like what I love about that example is that you can even take like what feels like a very simple, against air quotes, like simple business model, like pizza delivery,
Hmm.
and there's like so many different ways that we could work together to like slice and dice that to like figure out customer loyalty, average order value, like different things that we can do.
Pun intended on slice and dice.
Yes, I didn't even notice. Oh man, I should get bonus points for that. I was like
Yeah, bonus points.
unexpected.
I love it
Uh,
when you can totally relate with the data, and it's like it the fact that you can imagine the customer journey, walking in, experiencing, the wait time, and looking at the menu and deciding what to get and weighing the options, and oh, this is free if I buy this other thing. Like, um, yeah, those are fun experiences, fun projects to work on.
yeah, and it like completely changes how you view the rest of the world, right? Like it's like anytime I see, and maybe this is why I've gotten so much into marketing is like when you see promotions, my like analytical brain is like, why are they running this? And then I'm like, what kind of behavior are they trying to make me go down? And like it gives me like a total meta
Yeah.
analysis of like the world around me, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've been listening. I've told you this before, but you and I both listen to some different business podcasts. I listened to the My First Million podcast,
Ah, yes.
and that one, it's exactly what you just described. It gets me thinking. If I'm out in the wild and I see some truck go by with some logo I've never, it's like, what is that? What do they do? I wonder how many trucks, how much they have to pay the driver, and like the, blah 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 blah, and then you know try to figure out like what the economic model of it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of wrecks your brain on on promotion stuff too, because it's like, okay, you want me to subscribe to this thing, and you're giving me $100 off. Why?
yeah.
What's the what's
Where's the $101 coming from? You know, like
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Like that's the dangers of us like data plus entrepreneurial people. It's just the world never looks the same again.
Yeah. What are some different types of data? Maybe in that example or in another,
Yeah.
that you would go digging in to uncover some secrets.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so we work across a lot of industries, so like it's a lot, and I think like the value of what we do with managed analytics is around having conversations with business leaders. They may not even know how many applications they have going on behind the scenes, but the realities are is that the vast majority have two or three that would cover, I'll call it 80% of like the insights that they're looking for, right? Most
Hmm.
businesses once they've like established their business model, moved beyond spreadsheets, like, invested in whatever, like HubSpot, Salesforce, you've got your CRM system. If you're kind of in a product business, you probably have some kind of ERP or inventory tracking system,
Yeah.
and then your financial system. Like at the end of that, you've got data, your widget data, and your financial data, and you can do a lot of damage with that. And I like where we are as a data industry right now is that not every vendor necessarily has database access or API access. So there's still a lot of creativity that goes in the world of connecting all of this data. Like we always hear on the news about how we're creating so many data points, but we're still like the world we find ourselves in right now is all of these custom integrations still need to be built out. You can't vibe code your way to like an ETL connector. You need to build these out custom. And yeah, it's like wherever the data is stored, we can find clever ways to get at, but that is like probably the biggest part of the technical puzzle of what our team does every day.
That's awesome. Any other stories you want to share about client data secrets, or are we ready to move on to our next segment?
I'm ready to rock and roll, man. Next section.
All right. This is our lightning round. We're getting close to the end here. We call it KPI Corner or Metric Mystery Theater. I haven't really decided
Very on
yet.
brand. Love it.
Uh, but yeah, so it's basically we're going to go through a couple different, key metrics are obviously really important, and just for most listeners, I think everyone knows what we mean when we say KPI, but generally a metric. This is a very impactful thing for your business. A lot of times it's a ratio of two things,
Mhm.
and then sometimes you'll have two metrics that um, one counterbalances the other to make sure that, we're not just optimizing for, it's kind of like what's that paperclip? If the goal is to make as many paperclips as possible, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like you could end up tearing up the entire world making as many paperclips, but you need to, something like profit or efficiency or like something else to kind of like temper that other KPI. But
Yep.
okay, so as you think about either your business or businesses that you serve, what's one of the most fundamental KPIs?
I'll probably speak a lot from just like my perspective as like a consultancy owner, like agency owner,
Sure.
but uh, for sure, like the fundamental KPI that I think everyone should have a good handle on in this business is at a minimum gross profit, only
Yep.
because that is a factor of like the revenue, which we'll talk about here shortly with another question, but the revenue of like how much dollars are coming in the door, but also gross margin will take into effect cost of goods sold.
Yep.
So if you're in the business of people, it's basically how much does it cost for me to like deliver these projects. But I think fundamentally any business like should have a good handle on their gross profit because there are a lot of levers that happen after that lead to net margin that you as a founder have a little bit more control over. But if you're going to have any fighting chance of a sustainable business model, like you want to have a good handle of like what your gross margin actually is.
Nice. Yeah, and that's actually a good example of one where it's like it has those two metrics built into it. It's the increased revenue, but not at any cost, right? And so
Yeah.
they temper each other. That's awesome. Um, all right, I love this one. Vanity metrics, which vanity metric could be how many likes do I get on a post or something, something that like makes you feel good, but maybe completely meaningless.
Sure.
What's your favorite vanity metric?
Yeah. I mean, I had one like already at the top of my head, but I would do want to like I think follower count and likes. Like I can't stand when people talk about the number of followers that they have on social media. Maybe because I'm jealous that I don't have that many followers on social media,
I'll be
but
your
also
follower, Luke.
yeah, thank you. I just want to remind people that like followers don't pay the bills. But the main one that I think that like frustrates me a lot in the agency consultancy space is just revenue. Uh,
Mm,
for me, it is very much a vanity metric that I would self admit I fell into in my late 20s when I was trying to build my company is I was trying to go after revenue at all costs. But frankly, at the end of the day, there's so many other metrics that uh, are way much more interesting to track versus revenue. And there's a lot of ways that you can like cleverly game the system in a bad way to make your revenue look really big. So when people kind of tote
mm,
around like how big a revenue of a company that they have, like I just kind of roll my eyes because that is the first part of like a much bigger financial puzzle behind the scenes. Revenue is interesting, don't really care.
yeah, yeah. I a proxy for that I think is pretty easy to fall into if you're in a more of a people heavy focused consulting business is headcount. How
Hmm.
many full time employees do you have? And I find myself thinking about that a lot too. It's like
Yeah.
it's an easy trap to fall into, but if the goal is impact, you could justify, the more people I have on my team, the greater impact I can create for my clients, the greater experience I can create for my clients, the greater impact I can have on the people on my team. Um, but at the end of the day, is that really what it is, or is it a vanity metric, right? So
Yeah. Yep. And I think like that is fundamentally shifting as we get like I think the rising popularity of SaaS has meant you can
yeah,
do a lot more with less people, and then now
yeah,
top that with the AI revolution that we're going through. I think people are becoming a little bit more smart around like it's not necessarily people you put at the problem, but like clever ways you solve the problem,
Yeah.
and that doesn't show up in the headcount. It shows up in the efficiency of like how you get the dollars to get to the bottom line.
Yeah, totally. All right, next KPI. What are the most impactful KPIs that have led to real change or growth for you?
Sure. So like specific to consultancy, like I wanted to like there's a concept that I heard on another podcast that I think just like really stuck with me about at the end of the day, there's like three levers that we all pretty much like every business across the board has the ability to play around with is the amount of new customers that are coming through the door, number one, the average order value of those customers, and the number of repeat customers. New
Mm,
customers, average order value, repeat customers. At the end of the day, those are like the three levers that you can play around with as an owner to improve the value of your company.
yeah.
In the consulting space, I mean the two big ones that I have always think about. It's the one I like hated talking about when I was like an employee at a consultancy, and now I like totally lean in on it. It really all comes down to utilization of the team and average bill rate. When you get those two solved and you optimize for how busy is the team that you have and the how much you're essentially charging, those are like the two biggest levers that I'm always trying to track against that can help level up the company that I'm trying to build.
Yeah, I like that framework. Because you could, if you just focus on getting a ton of really good leads and you do one project for them and you don't do it so well, but you make good money while you do it, they're probably not gonna they're not gonna come back to you, right? Um, and so you could optimize for funnel, or you optimize for we're gonna do an amazing job at being highly efficient, and is that kind of the middle thing? Is that kind of where the average bill rate and utilization come in? It's like make the
Yeah.
most out of the time that you're with your customer, and then the how good of a job you did for them and how much they love you and all that, it plays into that feedback loop of like you don't have to go get a new customer because you've done such an amazing job for them that they stay with you.
Yep. And what I really like about that framework too is that, one thing I always try to focus on is just like the sales and marketing guy is new customer acquisition, which it is a hard job to do. It's probably the most expensive feature of like what you're trying to do as a business owner.
Yeah.
So I think I always think about that framework because it helps me other levers that don't necessarily need to be about just like drumming up more sales of like how can we improve the process delivery mechanisms or how much we charge, how can we go back to prior past customers and like improve on that success. It gives you other levers to play around with so you don't feel like you're constantly stuck in this like grind out new sales mode that can just
Yeah.
really frustrate you as an entrepreneur.
All right, next one. I love this one. What's the weirdest KPI that you've seen or used or secretly kind of love?
I mean, I don't know if it's weird. It's just like a pet peeve of mine. Like I hate paying for unnecessary applications and like software. Like I'm a huge junkie for like if people are going to talk about the types of tools that they use, like I'm the guy that'll join that circle because I love listening and hearing about like what tools people are using.
Hmm.
Personally, hate just paying for unnecessary applications. Uh, this is like the opposite of a humble brag. It's like a humble. Like there was one year I spent over $80,000 on applications.
Wow.
Uh, and from that day forward, I like swore to myself, I was like, I will never pay that much for like unnecessary, unaudited applications. So I have an entire spreadsheet. It's like so much of a passion of mine that I like might even start a business around this someday. I have a whole spreadsheet of every single application within the business and like when the subscription is up and if I'm paying monthly or annually. So
Yeah.
I know. And I've gone through and just audited all of that to like decrease my SaaS fees to like the most minimal I possibly can. The KPI I've like come up for this is just application spend divided by revenue. And my goal is to always optimize that percentage because I give myself permission if we can get, I know this goes against what I just talked about, but like get a bigger business, like more money coming in the door,
Hmm.
I can maintain that application spend percentage to what I want it to be. But I think if any business owner realistically looks at the tools that they pay for and are like, especially not paying attention to it, that is the one that like just gets away from you, and it just
Yeah.
frustrates out of me.
So as you think about that application spend, are you thinking about it? So we talked about cost of goods sold, right? So like the Snowflake instance that you're providing to your managed service clients, is that in this number, or is everything kind of below gross profit, like in the overhead?
Everything below gross margin. So for us, yeah, you're
Okay.
right. Like cost of goods sold is like the platform stuff that we have going on behind the scenes. That doesn't count as a application necessarily. This is
You're thinking
all
like
of my SaaS
Harvest and
applications for
Slack.
me. Yeah, all of my SaaS applications for me fall between gross margin and net margin. It's just like these are all the levers that
Yeah.
me as a founder has made the decision to invest in, and I need to prove the value for it. And it is the thing that is so easy to sign up for a bunch of SaaS apps because you think you need it,
Yeah.
but a SaaS app is not going to save your business. So just tell you that now.
Yeah. Especially these days when it's like, oh, new AI application that helps me do this thing and it's $20 a month or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
do,
exactly.
do you pay for ChatGPT?
I do. I do. We have a on and off again relationship, but we always seem to come back together. So yeah,
Yeah.
ChatGPT is my go-to.
Yeah, it's my best friend. All right, let's last metric. What is your North Star metric? The one that you will never stop tracking?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this point is like the grand finale of what I've been talking about, but net margin is like the thing that I'm constantly trying to measure against.
Yeah.
Uh, the reason for why you start in business is to make sure you can have an efficient business model that can serve your customers, create a lot of value, create new jobs for people. Those are amazing metrics to track. But part of that of being a great business owner is to making sure that you've got a viable business that will keep your customers in business, that'll keep your employees employed. Net margin for me is like how you run the score within business, and it's not necessarily about running up the score and maximizing. It's just making sure at all times you're making decisions that create a healthy business that's going to be able to support the people that are supporting you around you.
Awesome. Love that. Just kind of final takes, reflection. We're landing the plane here. We were just talking about AI. I'm curious how you see our world of data and analytics being impacted by AI, kind of in the immediate short term, mid-term, maybe long term, or whatever vision you have of the future. Show us your crystal ball, Luke.
Yeah. Yeah, this is like it's such a big question because I do think, I mean, AI it's such a cool space right now. I think people are getting like burnt out by it, but I think we're at such an interesting time where if you are someone that's leaning in on AI, like truly leaning in, not just like, going on ChatGPT every other week, there's like so many cool business ideas, unfair advantages you can get by like leaning in on AI. Uh, this is outside of just like the pure data use case you asked me about, but it's like marketing operations, it's coding applications, even if you don't have a computer science background. It's incredible what it is opening up for people. With of course all the caveats that like it can hallucinate and it's sometimes wrong. I get it. Uh, when it comes to data analytics, like it is kind of an interesting paradigm shift of it's like a paradigm shift and it's not. One, it's how we consume data or how our end users will expect to be able to consume data insights will fundamentally change.
Yeah.
There's also the realities of like the problems we've always had in the data space of a central source of truth, governed data, people following business processes, all of these things that have like been around pre AI and we've been trying to solve for years and continues to be a problem is really fundamentally the reason why I don't think a lot of companies will see the full value of AI in their organization. It has nothing to do with like AI's inability to do it. And it's more about like our human inability to get out of our own way so that AI can do what it does best.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's exciting. I think there's a lot of like education that goes into it. I'm hopeful that AI will help people start to see the investment in a single source of truth in data warehousing because I think people are kind of burnt out by that phrase. But more than ever, like they need that if they're ever going to pull off these AI use cases that they're seeing in the webinars that they go to.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking about that a lot actually on the call right before this. We were talking about kind of this concept of AI readiness, and this company had just invested in a multi-million-dollar initiative in their call center, and to get AI agents to help the people solve some problems for and Salesforce showed it in the Agentforce demo last year, right? But struggle to see any sort of ROI from it right now. And so what we talk about is like, okay, we have always said you need a place to capture and manage the data, and that's your various source systems, sensors, what have you, right? Where
Yep.
the data gets captured, managed, governed. And then we need to create a bridge or create a way for that data to come together into one place, right? And then we need an insight layer on top to be able to extract insights from that. And historically, that has been reports. It was Crystal reports 25, 30 years ago. It's,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it's been Tableau dashboards, Power BI dashboards for the last 10 years. But I think the next 10 years is, there will be kind of bolt-ons that are, AI wrapping around your data and giving you, chat behavior, agent behavior, serving up insights. And we're already starting to see some of that. But um, yeah, it's interesting. Like, so what can businesses do now to be ready for whenever these AI solutions that become cost effective to be able to bolt on, maybe in addition to their dashboard solutions, maybe in some cases in replacement of them. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting next 5 years, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's why we joined the data analytics industry, is because it just never ends. It always is changing.
I did it for the data fam, Luke. I don't know why you did it. Um,
Yes, the lovely happy hours.
yes, no, I love the people in the data community. They're definitely my tribe. Cool. Any last words of wisdom for aspiring data sleuths out there?
Nothing that I haven't already imparted on this episode today, but yeah, I appreciate the time, the good conversation, the awesome questions along the way. I'm hoping my ramblings over the last bit have created some kind of interesting tidbit of information for people.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Just maybe for the listeners who do want to follow you, connect with you, reach out, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can learn more about DataDrive at godatadrive.com, godatadrive.com. And I'm also a fairly frequent LinkedIn person. So you can also find me on LinkedIn under my name, Luke Komiskey. And feel free to send me a direct message, and happy to meet up.
Nice, especially if you're a K through 12 or SMB mid-market customer.
Thanks for the plug.
Yes, Luke, it's been awesome. Thanks for being here. For anybody watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's my first time ever saying that. Like and subscribe. You don't have to. It's fine. But we're gonna keep putting these out, and it's gonna be a good time. So, Luke,
Thank you so much.
till the next time. Take care,
Yeah.
buddy.
Cheers.